My name is Harold Bennett. I am 68 years old, and for 41 years, I taught high school history in Edmonton, Alberta. These hands have graded thousands of essays, drawn countless maps on chalkboards, and wiped away the tears of students who thought they would never pass their exams. But before I tell you how my own family nearly destroyed everything I had worked for, please click the like button, subscribe to Satory Vengeance, and comment where you are watching from. Your support means the world to me. 3 years ago, my wife Margaret passed away from pancreatic cancer. We had been married for 43 years. The house we shared in Street Albert suddenly felt enormous, every room echoing with memories of her laughter, her cooking, her voice calling me for dinner. My son Trevor noticed how I was struggling. He drove up from Calgary one weekend with his wife Denise and sat me down in my own living room. "Dad, you should not be alone up here. Come live with us. We have that basement suite, fully finished. You would have your own space, your own bathroom, and you would be close to your grandkids." I looked at him, this boy I had raised, now a 42-year-old financial advisor with a house in the suburbs of Calgary. His offer seemed genuine. His eyes had that same warmth Margaret always loved about him. "I do not know, son. This house has so many memories of your mother. That is exactly why you need a fresh start, Dad." Trevor squeezed my shoulder. "Besides, Emily and Jack miss their grandpa. They ask about you all the time." So I agreed. I sold the house in Street Albert for $480,000. After paying off the remaining mortgage and settling some of Margaret's medical bills that insurance did not cover, I was left with $320,000. Not a fortune, but enough to see me through my remaining years, if I was careful. I also had my teacher's pension, about $3,800 a month after taxes. Decent money for a retired man with no mortgage. I moved into Trevor's basement suite in March. It was comfortable enough. A bedroom, a small living room, a kitchenette, and a full bathroom. Denise had even put fresh flowers on the table to welcome me. The first year was good. I spent mornings with my grandchildren before they left for school, helped Emily with her French homework, taught Jack how to play chess. In the afternoons, I would read or take walks in the neighborhood. Trevor and Denise both worked long hours, so I often cooked dinner for the family. It felt like I had found a new purpose. But things began to change in the second year. It started small. Trevor asked if I could contribute a bit more to the household expenses. "Of course," I said. I was already giving them $1,500 a month for rent and utilities, but I increased it to $2,000. Then Denise mentioned that the kids needed new winter gear, and would I mind helping out since I was living there rent-free. I reminded her that I was paying rent, but she just laughed and said it was barely anything compared to what they could get if they rented the suite to a real tenant. That comment stung, but I let it go. Family is family. Then came the requests for loans. Trevor needed $5,000 to cover an unexpected tax bill. Denise needed $3,000 for a course she wanted to take. The kids needed money for hockey registration, for summer camp, for a school trip to Ottawa. Each time, I was promised repayment. Each time, the repayment never came. I kept a small notebook where I tracked everything. By the end of my second year living with them, I had given or loaned them over $47,000 on top of my monthly contributions. My savings had dropped from $320,000 to $263,000. But I told myself it was fine. They were my family. The money would come back eventually, and even if it did not, what was I saving it for? It would all go to Trevor someday anyway. That Thursday morning changed everything. Trevor and Denise had left for work. The kids were at school. I was in my suite, sorting through some old photographs of Margaret, when I realized I had left my reading glasses upstairs in the kitchen. I walked up quietly, not wanting to disturb anyone, though the house was empty. As I reached the top of the stairs, I heard voices. Trevor's voice, and another man's voice I did not recognize. They must have come back for something. I was about to call out when I heard my name. "Your father has over $200,000 just sitting in the bank, Harold." The man's voice was deep, authoritative. "That is ridiculous. At his age, he does not need that much liquid cash. You should have access to that account." "I know, Richard." Trevor sounded frustrated. "But he is old-fashioned. He does not even do online banking. Everything is still at the credit union with paper statements. Then get him to add you to the account. Or better yet, get power of attorney while he is still competent enough to sign. My father did the same thing, sat on his money like a dragon on gold, and when he finally had his stroke, it took us 18 months to sort out the legal mess. I pressed myself against the wall, my heart pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. I have tried bringing it up, Trevor continued, but he gets defensive, says he wants to keep his independence. Independence, the other man snorted. He is 68, living in your basement, eating your food. What independence? Look, Trevor, I am telling you this as your friend and as your financial advisor. That money should be working for your family, for Emily and Jack's education, for your retirement, not sitting in some credit union account earning 1.5%. You are right. I just need to find the right approach. Do it soon. The older they get, the harder it becomes. And if he starts showing any signs of decline, you will have lawyers and doctors and the whole system making it complicated. Get it done while he is still sharp. I heard footsteps moving toward the front door. I quickly retreated down the stairs to my suite, my legs shaking so badly I nearly fell. I sat on my bed, staring at the wall, trying to process what I had heard. My son was not just asking me for money anymore. He was planning to take control of everything I had. And this Richard, whoever he was encouraging him to do it quickly, before I became too old to resist. The words echoed in my mind. Get power of attorney while he is still competent enough to sign. That evening, I joined the family for dinner as usual. I watched Trevor carefully, looking for any sign of the man I had overheard that morning. But he was the same as always, asking about my day, laughing at Jack's jokes, complimenting Denise's cooking. Either he was a very good actor, or he had compartmentalized his plans so thoroughly that they did not affect his daily behavior. Dad, you seem quiet tonight. Is everything okay? Denise asked, tilting her head with what looked like concern. Just tired. Did not sleep well last night. You should see a doctor about that. At your age, sleep problems can be a sign of other issues. At your age. There it was again. That phrase that had started appearing more and more in our conversations. At your age, you should not be driving in winter. At your age, you need to be more careful on the stairs. At your age, maybe you should let us handle your finances. I excused myself early and went back to my suite. That night, I did not sleep at all. The next morning, I called my old friend, George Patterson. George and I had taught together for 20 years before he retired and moved to Vancouver Island. His wife had passed 2 years before Margaret, and we had bonded over our shared grief. Harold, good to hear from you. How are things in Calgary? I told him everything. The overheard conversation, the money I had already given, the growing feeling that I was being managed rather than loved. George listened without interrupting. When I finished, he let out a long breath. Harold, I am going to tell you something, and I need you to really hear it. What you are describing is financial elder abuse. I have seen it happen to 3 of our former colleagues. Good people whose children decided that their parents' money was really their inheritance, just arriving early. But Trevor is my son. He would not deliberately hurt me. Did you ever think he would talk about you like a problem to be solved? Like an obstacle between him and your bank account? I had no answer for that. Listen, George continued. I am not saying cut him off completely, but you need to protect yourself. Get your own lawyer. Make sure your will is exactly what you want it to be. And for God's sake, do not sign any power of attorney documents unless you are absolutely certain. Over the next few days, I began to notice things I had ignored before. The way Denise would casually ask about my bank statements. The way Trevor would bring up stories about elderly people who had been scammed, always ending with, "That is why it is so important to have family involved in your finances, Dad." The way they would exchange glances when they thought I was not looking. I also started reviewing my finances more carefully. I requested statements for the past 2 years from my credit union. When I added up everything, rent contributions, loans, gifts for the grandchildren, I discovered I had given Trevor and Denise over $73,000, not the $47,000 I had tracked. I had missed or forgotten many of the smaller amounts. Almost a quarter of my life savings, gone in 2 years. And they were planning to take the rest. I knew I had to leave. But I also knew I could not do it impulsively. I needed a plan. I started by finding an apartment. I searched online listings at the public library, not wanting to leave any traces on Trevor's home computer. I found a modest one-bedroom in a seniors building in Bridgeland, close to downtown Calgary. The rent was reasonable, and the building had good security. I called the manager and arranged a viewing for a day when Trevor and Denise would both be at work. The apartment was small but bright, with large windows overlooking the Bow River. It had been recently renovated, with new flooring and appliances. The building had a common room where residents could socialize, a small library, and a rooftop garden. "I will take it," I told the manager. "Can I move in by the end of the month?" That evening, I began quietly packing my most important belongings. Margaret's jewelry, our photo albums, my teaching awards, my father's pocket watch. I hid the boxes in the back of my closet, behind the winter clothes. Then came the conversation I had been dreading. It was a Sunday afternoon. Trevor asked me to come upstairs. He and Denise were sitting at the kitchen table with a stack of papers. "Dad, we have been thinking," Denise began, her voice sweet as honey. "You have done so much for this family, and we want to make sure you are taken care of as you get older." Trevor slid the papers toward me. "We talked to Richard. You remember him. He is a financial advisor I work with. He helped us put together some documents that would make things easier for everyone." I looked at the papers. Right on top was a enduring power of attorney form. "What is this?" I asked, though I already knew. "It is just a precaution, Dad," Trevor said. "If anything ever happened to you, if you got sick or had an accident, this would let me handle your affairs. Pay your bills, manage your accounts. Otherwise, we would have to go through the courts, and that takes forever. I am perfectly capable of handling my own affairs." "Of course you are," Denise jumped in. "This is not about now. It is about the future. About making sure you are protected." Protected. There was that word again, like I was a child who needed supervision. "And what is this other document?" I pointed to a second form. "That is just an update to your banking. It would add Trevor as a joint holder on your accounts, just for convenience, so he can help you if you ever need it." I stared at my son. This boy I had taught to ride a bike. This man I had helped through university, through his first heartbreak, through his wedding. He was looking back at me with an expression I could not read. Was it hope? Guilt? Calculation? "Let me think about it," I said. "This is a big decision." Trevor's face flickered with frustration before he smoothed it over. "Of course, Dad. Take your time, but do not wait too long, okay? These things are better done sooner rather than later." That night, I called George again. "They actually put the papers in front of you?" He sounded shocked. "Harold, you need to move up your timeline. Once they realize you are not going to sign, they might try other approaches." "What do you mean?" "There are ways to get someone declared incompetent. Doctors who will sign off on questionable assessments. It is rare, but it happens, especially when there is money involved." The thought terrified me. The idea that my own son might try to have me declared mentally unfit just to get control of my bank account. But after what I had overheard, I could not dismiss it as impossible. I moved out 4 days later. I waited until Trevor and Denise were at work and the kids were at school. I had arranged for a moving company to come with a small truck. They loaded my boxes and furniture in under 2 hours. Before I left, I walked through the basement suite one last time. I had spent 2.5 years here, thinking I was building closer relationships with my family. Instead, I had been slowly bled of my savings, while they planned to take the rest. I left a letter on the kitchen table. "Dear Trevor and Denise, I have decided to move out and live independently. This is not a decision I made lightly. I have found an apartment that suits my needs, and I believe this is the best choice for everyone. I will always love my grandchildren, and I hope to maintain a relationship with them. But I need space to live my own life on my own terms. Please do not worry about me. I am healthy and capable of taking care of myself. Dad, I did not include my new address. My apartment in Bridgeland became my sanctuary. For the first time in years, I felt like I could breathe. I unpacked my belongings slowly, arranging Margaret's photos on the bookshelf, hanging my teaching awards in the small hallway. I bought groceries I actually wanted to eat, not whatever Denise had decided was healthy for me. I stayed up late reading without worrying about disturbing anyone. I woke up when I wanted, not when the household schedule demanded. The phone calls started the same day I moved out. Trevor called 11 times before I finally answered. Dad, what the hell is going on? Where are you? We came home and your stuff was gone. I told you in the letter. I moved out. Moved out where? Why? What did we do wrong? I did not want to have this conversation over the phone, but I knew I could not avoid it forever. I heard you, Trevor, that morning with Richard. I heard everything you said about getting power of attorney, about my money just sitting there. There was a long silence. Dad, you misunderstood. We were just talking about protecting you. Protecting me? Or protecting my bank account? That is not fair. We have supported you for over 2 years. We gave you a home, and I paid for it. Every month, plus all the loans I gave you. Over $70,000, Trevor. I kept records. Another silence. When Trevor spoke again, his voice had changed. Colder. More businesslike. So that is what this is about? Money? After everything we have done, you are going to nickel and dime us? No. This is about respect. About being treated like a person, not a source of income. About you planning to take control of my finances without my consent. You are being paranoid, Dad. Maybe you should see someone. This kind of behavior is not normal. There it was. The same script Richard had suggested. Make the old man think he is losing his mind. I hung up. The next few weeks were a whirlwind of activity. I hired a lawyer, a sharp young woman named Catherine Wu, who specialized in elder law. She reviewed my finances, updated my will, and created a new power of attorney that would only take effect if 2 independent doctors certified that I was incapacitated. She also helped me set up a trust for my grandchildren's education, one that Trevor and Denise could not touch. Meanwhile, the pressure from my family intensified. Denise sent long emails about how hurt the children were, how Emily cried every night asking why Grandpa left, how Jack had stopped playing chess because it reminded him of me. She never directly asked for money or mentioned my finances, but the guilt was laid on thick. Trevor tried a different approach. He showed up at my building one evening, somehow having discovered my address. The security guard called up to my apartment. Mr. Bennett, there is a man here claiming to be your son. Should I let him up? I hesitated. Part of me wanted to refuse, to hide in my apartment until he went away. But I knew that would only delay the inevitable. Yes, send him up. Trevor looked tired when I opened the door. His suit was rumpled, his tie loosened. For a moment, he almost looked like the little boy who used to run to me after school. Dad, can we talk? I let him in. He looked around the small apartment, and I saw his expression shift. Disappointment? Disgust? I could not tell. This is where you are living now? This shoebox? It is my shoebox. I pay for it with my own money. I control my own life here. He sat down heavily on my couch. Dad, I know things got heated. I know you heard some stuff that upset you, but we are family. We should not be fighting like this. I am not fighting, Trevor. I am simply living my own life, but it does not have to be like this. He leaned forward, his voice earnest. Come back home. We can forget all this. The kids miss you. I miss you. And the power of attorney, the joint account, we can forget about that too. It was just an idea. Richard pushed it too hard. I should not have listened to him. I studied my son's face, trying to find the truth behind his words. Was this genuine remorse or another strategy? I appreciate you coming here, Trevor, but I am not ready to come back. I need time. His expression hardened. Time for what? To sit alone in this tiny apartment? Dad, you are 68 years old. You should be with family, not isolated like this. I am not isolated. I have friends. I have activities. I am building a life here. Trevor stood up, frustration radiating from every line of his body. Fine, have it your way. But do not come crying to us when you realize you made a mistake. After he left, I sat by the window for a long time, watching the river flow past. I wondered if I was doing the right thing. Maybe I was being too harsh. Maybe Trevor really had just made a mistake, gotten caught up in bad advice from a pushy friend. But then I remembered the words I had overheard. That money should be working for your family. Get it done while he is still sharp. No, I had made the right choice. 3 months passed. I settled into a comfortable routine. I joined a book club at the library, started volunteering at a local literacy program, even began dating a lovely woman named Dorothy who lived 2 floors above me. Life was good, better than it had been in years. Then Richard showed up. I was returning from my morning walk when I saw a black BMW parked outside my building. A tall man in an expensive suit was leaning against it, watching me approach. I recognized him immediately from his voice. The man who had been advising Trevor on how to get control of my money. Mr. Bennett, good morning. Who are you? Richard Lawson. I am a friend of your son's. May I have a word? I should have walked past him, gone straight to my apartment, and called Catherine. But curiosity got the better of me. What do you want? Just to talk? To clear up some misunderstandings. We went to a coffee shop down the street. Richard ordered an expensive latte. I got a regular coffee. Mr. Bennett, I understand you overheard a conversation I had with Trevor a few months ago. I want to apologize for how that must have sounded. My advice was purely financial, not personal. I never meant to imply that Trevor should take advantage of you. That is exactly what you implied. Richard smiled, a polished, professional expression that did not reach his eyes. Perhaps I was not as careful with my words as I should have been, but the underlying concern was genuine. At your age, with that amount of money sitting in low-yield accounts, you are losing thousands every year to inflation. I could help you make better investments. I do not need your help. Mr. Bennett, I am trying to extend an olive branch here. Your son is worried about you. Living alone, cutting off your family. This is not healthy behavior. I see. So now you are a psychiatrist as well as a financial advisor? His smile tightened. I am just saying that your family cares about you, and pushing them away over a simple misunderstanding seems extreme. What exactly do you want, Mr. Lawson? He leaned forward, dropping the pretense of friendliness. Your son is struggling. The economy is not what it was. His business is down. He has 2 kids to put through university. Meanwhile, you are sitting on $250,000, living in a rental apartment, contributing nothing. My money is none of your business. It is my business when my friend is suffering because his stubborn father refuses to help. I stood up, leaving my coffee untouched. This conversation is over. Richard grabbed my arm, not quite hard enough to hurt, but hard enough to send a message. Think about what I said, Mr. Bennett. Families should stick together, and there are ways to make sure they do, whether everyone agrees or not. I pulled my arm free and walked out. That night, I called Catherine and told her about the encounter. She was alarmed. Harold, this sounds like harassment, possibly even intimidation. Do you want to file a police report? Not yet. But I want to know what my options are. She explained that Richard's veiled threats were difficult to prosecute, but if there was any evidence of a coordinated attempt to have me declared incompetent, we could take preemptive legal action. The best defense is documentation, she said. Keep records of every contact, every conversation. If they try anything, we will be ready. 2 weeks later, I received a letter from a law firm I had never heard of. It was addressed to me, but clearly written for a judge. The letter claimed that my family was concerned about my recent behavior. Sudden relocation, social isolation, suspected financial irresponsibility. It requested that I submit to a cognitive assessment by a doctor of their choosing, to ensure my welfare and protect my assets. I showed the letter to Catherine. She read it twice, her expression growing darker with each line. This is what I was afraid of. They are trying to establish a paper trail. If they can get a doctor to say you show signs of cognitive decline, they can petition for guardianship. But there is nothing wrong with me. I know that. You know that. But these things can be manipulated. We need to act fast. Catherine moved quickly. She arranged for me to be assessed by two independent geriatric specialists, both with excellent reputations. I took cognitive tests, answered questions about my daily routine, demonstrated my ability to manage my own affairs. Both doctors declared me fully competent. Catherine also filed a preemptive complaint with the Court of Queen's Bench, documenting the pattern of financial pressure, the overheard conversation, Richard's threats, and the suspicious legal letter. She framed it as attempted elder abuse. "Now we wait," she said. "If they push forward, they will have to explain all of this to a judge." The confrontation came 3 weeks later. I received a phone call from Trevor. His voice was strained, almost desperate. "Dad, we need to talk. In person, please." Against my better judgment, I agreed to meet him at a restaurant near my apartment. When I arrived, I was not surprised to see Denise and Richard there as well. What did surprise me was the fourth person at the table, a middle-aged woman I did not recognize. "Dad, this is Dr. Marlene Foster. She is a specialist in geriatric care. We just want you to talk to her for a few minutes." I looked at the woman. She had a pleasant face, a professional demeanor, but I knew exactly why she was here. "I appreciate your concern," I said calmly, "but I have already been evaluated by two independent doctors. Both have declared me fully competent." Richard's smile faltered. "Those doctors do not know you like your family does. Actually, objective professionals are exactly the right people to make this kind of assessment, not family members who stand to gain financially from a different outcome." "Dad, that is not what this is about." Denise's voice was pleading. "We are worried about you, living alone, cutting yourself off from everyone who loves you." "I am not cut off. I have friends, activities, a life of my own. What I do not have is people trying to control my money." Trevor slammed his hand on the table. "This is exactly what I mean. You are paranoid. You think everyone is out to get you. I think people who secretly plan to get power of attorney over my finances might not have my best interests at heart." The table went silent. Dr. Foster looked uncomfortable. She clearly had not been told the full story. I stood up. "I am leaving now. If you attempt to contact me again regarding my competency or my finances, you will be hearing from my lawyer. She has already filed a complaint documenting your behavior. Any further harassment will be added to that complaint." "You would really do that?" Trevor stared at me. "Sue your own son?" "I do not want to sue anyone. I just want to be left alone to live my life. Can you give me that?" Trevor looked at Richard, then at Denise. Something passed between them. Some silent communication I was not part of. "Fine." Trevor's voice was flat, defeated. "Have it your way." I walked out of the restaurant and did not look back. That was 8 months ago. Since then, things have settled into an uneasy peace. Trevor and I speak occasionally, brief phone calls that never touch on anything important. Denise sends me photos of the grandchildren sometimes. I have not seen Emily and Jack in person since I moved out, but I write them letters and send birthday presents through the mail. The legal complaint is still on file, a sword hanging over my family's head. Catherine tells me it is the best protection I have. As long as they know there will be consequences, they are unlikely to try anything again. I still think about what might have been. If I had never overheard that conversation, would I have signed those papers? Would I now be living in Trevor's basement, watching my savings disappear into his accounts, wondering why I felt so powerless? Sometimes I wonder if I was too harsh. Trevor is still my son. Despite everything, I love him. I remember the boy who used to climb into my lap and ask me to read him stories. I remember the teenager who came to me for advice about girls and school and life. I remember the young man who cried at his mother's funeral and held my hand through the hardest days of my life. But I also remember the man who planned to take control of my finances without my consent, who brought in lawyers and doctors to question my sanity, who chose his financial advisor's opinions over his father's dignity. Forgiveness is possible. Trust must be earned. Last week, I got a letter from Emily. She is 14 now, applying to high schools, thinking about her future. She wrote about her classes, her friends, her hopes and fears. At the end, she added a postscript. "Grandpa, I do not understand why things are weird between you and Dad. Mom says you had a fight about money. But I remember when you lived with us, how you helped me with my homework and told me stories about Grandma. I miss that. I hope someday we can have that again. I sat by my window, looking out at the river, holding my granddaughter's letter. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. Dorothy came down from her apartment with 2 cups of tea, and we sat together in comfortable silence. At 68 years old, I have learned that family is complicated. Love and betrayal can live side by side in the same heart. The people who are supposed to protect you can become the ones you need protection from. And sometimes the bravest thing you can do is walk away. I am still here, still healthy, still in control of my own life and my own money. That might not sound like much, but for a man who almost lost everything to the people he loved most, it feels like a victory. If my story has touched you, or made you think about the importance of protecting yourself and your dignity, please leave a comment below. And if you know an elderly person who might be in a similar situation, reach out to them. Sometimes all it takes is one conversation to change everything. My name is Harold Bennett. I am 68 years old, and I am finally free.